Okay, so today I'm going to be showing you how to do a Celtic weave stitch. This is a bit of a more advanced stitch, but if you need any of the stitches used in this stitch pattern, if you need a little bit more of a broken down explanation of some of the stitches, then you might want to go ahead and have a look at my stitch tutorials that I do have available, because I have some of these stitches broken right down and slowed right down and explained, okay? Which might make it a little easier for you to follow along to this one. So we're going to go ahead and get started with this. We have to work in multiples of 4 plus 2, and then depending on how you're using this stitch or what pattern you're following, and if you're following a pattern it should be telling you, but you might need to also add another 1 for the purpose of the foundation of the chain. Okay, so in this situation we're going to pretend that we are actually going to be working with a flat straight row pattern. For example, if you're working in the round, and depending on where this stitch comes into play in that pattern, like if you're working on a hat or something, maybe you don't need to be adding that extra 1 for the foundation of the chain, okay? But if you're doing this pattern starting from a starting chain, you need to do multiples of 4 plus 2 plus 1, okay? And that's what we're going to be doing. So go ahead and make your starting loop and get your hook on your loop. And for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to do my multiples of 4 to a chain of 12. So yarn over, pull through the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If you are doing I imagine you're doing a much longer chain than 12, unless you are just following along with a swatch of your own to learn this stitch. You can pause the video, go ahead and do your starting chain in the multiples of 4, and then come back to this point right now. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and add 2 plus 1 more for the for the foundation of our chain. Okay, now working into the second chain from our hook. So there's our first chain. Working in the second, we're going to do a single crochet. So you're going to push your hook in that chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. You've now got 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through both. And we're just going to go ahead and work 1 single crochet into every single chain all the way down the row. Starting off nice and easy with just simple, straightforward single crochets. This is a really tricky stitch, so just, grab a bottle of water, take a breath, be nice and patient and calm and ready to learn a new stitch. Once you get going with it, it really does make sense. It does become easier, but it is a trickier stitch to learn at first and can be a little confusing. So don't get overwhelmed and don't get hard on yourself. It's completely natural for you to get a little confused the first attempt at doing this stitch, maybe even the first couple. Okay, so now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work. This double crochet is going to belong to this stitch. We're counting this chain 3 as a double crochet. Okay, so I'm going to refer to this as a double crochet even though it's our chain 3, because we're going to count it belonging to this stitch. So now we're going to skip the next one and the one after that, going into this third one here, which technically is the 4th. This is where it gets a little confusing, okay? Because if you were to chain 3 and turn your work, and I was instructing you on what to do next, I would be telling you you're going to be working in the 4th chain the 4th stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4th stitch, okay? But we're going to be counting this chain 3 as a double crochet, and we're going to be having this double crochet belong to this stitch. So technically we're skipping the first 2 and going into the 3rd. Makes sense? I hope that did. Call it what you want, however you need to say it in your head. But we're going to go ahead and work a treble crochet. So yarn over your hook twice, and you're going to go into what is technically that 4th stitch. Push your hook through, yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through the first 2. Yarn over, pull through the next 2. Yarn over, pull through the last 2. And that's a treble crochet. We are going to work another treble crochet in the stitch right beside that. So yarn over your hook twice, push your hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over, and pull through the last 2 loops. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky, and why I was saying it's important to consider this first stitch of your row as already used by your chain 3. Because now I'm going to say to you, and what a lot of patterns might say, you're going to go ahead and work a treble crochet into each of those first 2 skipped stitches. So if I didn't give you that whole big confusing explanation that this chain 3 is going to belong to that stitch, you might be starting to work in here because you'd be like, okay, well, that's the first skip stitch. No. We are pretending this is used. This is occupied by this chain 3, which we're counting as a double crochet. So these are your 2 skipped stitches. And you're going to go ahead and work a treble crochet into each of those. So yarn over your hook twice. Find that first stitch there, push your hook in, and work your treble crochet. You're going to work another treble crochet into that stitch right beside it, which is the second skipped stitch. Okay, now pull your work back up properly there, or however you like to do that. Some people like to go and work into the in from behind, but anyway, so that is, we've done our 2 treble crochets, went back and worked 1 treble crochet into each of the first 2 skipped. Now we are going to skip these next 2 stitches, and we're going to work a treble crochet into each of the following 2. So you're going to go ahead and work your treble crochets. So you skip 2 stitches, work a treble crochet into the following, work another treble crochet into the stitch beside that one. And now you're going to go back and you're going to work 1 treble crochet into each of those last 2 skipped stitches. And another one in the stitch beside it. So into each of the 2 skipped stitches. Now, however long your row is, you're just going to go ahead, don't worry, it's not making much sense yet. It might be, but if it's not, don't worry, it will as we go along. You're going to go ahead and continue all the way down your row, however long your row is. You're going to skip the next 2 stitches, work 1 treble crochet into each of the following, then go back and work 1 treble crochet into each of the 2 skipped, and go ahead working that all the way down till you get to the end of your row, and then come back. Okay, so when you've worked your way all the way down your row, and you're at the end here, you're going to notice that you have 1 stitch left. You're just going to work a regular double crochet into that very last stitch of the row. Okay. So hopefully that has made sense to you so far. If you're having trouble and if your work is not looking like this yet, you do not want to move forward yet. Maybe frog it and start again. But let's go ahead and move on to the next row if you're ready to move forward. So we're going to chain 3 and turn our work. Now we're going to work a back post treble crochet around the first 2 posts, and these are a bit hidden. So to find your first 2, you could look at your stitches here. Now remember that the chain 3 we're counting as a double crochet, so that belongs to this stitch. So here's the first 2 that we'll be working with, and those posts are a little bit hidden back here. So we're going to work back post treble crochets around those. So you're going to yarn over your hook twice. Now instead of going over and working into it there, you're going to go behind your work to the right side of the post. You're going to push your hook over the post and come out the back the other side. Okay, so there's that post there. Yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over, and work your treble crochet as usual from that point. We're going to do another back post treble crochet around the next post. So yarn over your hook twice, go in behind your work around the front of that post, pushing it to the back, yarn over, pull up your loop, yarn over, and pull through the first 2, next 2, and last 2. We are going to skip these 2, and you're going to find your next 2 hidden ones, and you're going to work another back post treble crochet around each of those next 2 hidden posts. Okay, so now we have worked around the first 2 posts, which are these hidden ones, and we've skipped 2, and we worked around the next 2, which are the hidden ones again. Now we're going to work back around the first 2 skipped posts. Okay, so when we're working around these 2 skipped posts, you want to, so it's going to be treble crochet. You want to make sure you're not going over these to get over there. You have to go in behind them and then find that post and do your back post treble crochet. It's a bit awkward. The back post row is definitely the harder of the rows because it could be pretty tricky. But just take your time. And I hope that I am making this as easy to follow along to and understand as possible. So now we're going to be skipping these 2 and working our back post treble crochets around these next 2 hidden ones. Okay, and if you have any hard time finding those hidden posts, just look for the stitches up top, right? You've got your stitches up top to guide you. And now we're going to go back and work 1 treble crochet over each of those 2 that we skipped. Okay, being careful to go behind these ones. Go behind, grab that post, that second one that's in the in the forefront there that we had skipped, and work your treble. Okay. And this is the back of your work, so that's why it might look a little confusing right now, but don't worry. Okay, and so now you're over here looking, going, okay, these are what I would normally skip. Like when you get to the end of your row, you probably have a much longer row. You probably have a much longer row than me. But when you get to the very end of your row, so pause your video and just keep on going as I've shown you here how to work this row. When you get to the end and you find yourself with these 2 that you normally would be skipping to go and work the next ones, you are just going to work your regular back post treble crochets around those posts. Okay, so you work your regular back post treble crochets around those posts, and then I'm going to show you how to end that row. Okay, so now when you're at the very end of your row and you've done your back post treble crochets around these last 2 posts, you are going to work your double crochet into the top of the chain 3 space, just a regular double crochet. I almost did a treble there, so into the top of your chain 3 space, as nice and clean as you can. Okay, chain 3 and turn your work. So this is the front of your work, where it's going to start to make a lot more sense. I know the back can be very confusing to look at, but once you start to know how to look at this pattern, it will get a lot easier as you go. So basically, you're just going to continue on the way that we've been going. So you want to make sure, though, it's very careful. Something I want to make note of for you. So now we're going to be working our front post, and I'm going to go ahead and do this row with you because this is our front post row. So you're going to be alternating between back post and front post rows. And but I want to show you something here, because as you go, when you're working your back post rows, you're working straight into the first two, skipping the next and working the next two and then going back. When you're working your front post rows, you're skipping the first two right away and you're working into these ones. These are not part of this next row because these are actually from the previous that go up here. Okay, it will make sense as you go. So for our front post row, you're going to do your treble crochet, so yarn over twice. You're going to skip these first two posts, and the best way to know you're working in the right ones is look at your stitches up top, right? So these two posts are with the first two stitches. We're skipping those. We're going to go into these next two that belong to these stitches, and we are going to front post treble crochet around each of those. So you're going to front post treble crochet around each of those posts there. And then we are going to go back and front post treble crochet around each of the two that we just skipped. The front post rows are a lot easier to work, so every other row will be a nice easy row for you. Okay, and then you're going to skip these two. You're going to front post treble crochet around each of the next two. Okay, so we're skipping these and we're going to front post treble crochet around each of these next two over here. And then we're going to go back and front post treble crochet around the two that we just skipped. Skip these two and front post treble crochet, around these ones, each of these next two here. And then go back and front post treble crochet around each of the two that you just skipped. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys can hear my dog barking outside. Better go let her in. Okay, and so now that we have finished working all of our front post treble crochets, we're just going to end this row with a double crochet into the top of our chain 3 space, just a regular double crochet. We're going to chain 3 and turn our work. And you're just going to continue on the way that we've been going. It's just a 2-row repeat. You're going to be doing a back post row, a front post row, a back post row, a front post row. So if you need help with how to continue on, go ahead and wind back the video. And as I said, the further you go, the more that it starts to take shape and you can really see that beautiful Celtic weave stitch. I hope that you've enjoyed this video tutorial. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and have a look at the helpful links in the description below.